Welcome to the NLMG show, hosted by me, David. Our guest this week is Xavier Quismondo. We're going to be asking a couple questions about NLMG. First question is, what is Hailsham?
Hailsham is the school that Kathy and her friends grew up in. It is a school where clones are meant to grow up, and it's separated from society, so they're sheltered their entire lives.
To follow that up, what is a carer?
A carer are the adults who made it through Hailsham, like Kathy, and their job is to primarily just take care of the people who are donating.
Wow, what are donations?
Donations are people who come in, previous or current clones, who come in to donate their tissue and organs for the creation of future clones.
And then what is completion?
Completion is when a donor is essentially deceased after they have completed all of their organs have been donated.
So, the first part of the book focuses on Kathy's time at Hailsham. Kathy mentions that Tommy was made fun of a lot during their time there because of his lack in creativity. Why was he encouraged to be more creative?
They push him to be more creative because um, he he was made fun of, but the art was always used to showcase, and it would help to prove that these clones had souls essentially, and they made fun of him because he was not like the rest.
Mm. Madame collects the students' artwork to exhibit in exchange for tokens for the students. Why does Hailsham prioritize art to showcase?
Well, they prioritize art because I kind of mentioned it briefly, but Madam takes those to art exhibits, and she tries to persuade the public essentially that these clones do have souls and minds of their own. Just because they are genetically replicated doesn't mean that they can't think for themselves.
Ruth creates a secret guard to protect Miss Geraldine. What does this imply about Ruth and Hailsham?
I think it implies that Ruth is trying to gain some favors of Miss Geraldine to try and get on her good side. So it kind of implies that mm, she's trying to assert herself above everybody. And about Hailsham is that there's not a lot of mental creativity that they want to um, make things interesting around their area.
Sounds like a great first part of a book. The second part of the book highlights her late years at Hailsham and her prep for the next step in life. At the cottages, Chrissy and Rodney talk about seeing a possible of Kathy in Norfolk. What is a possible, and what significance do they have?
So a possible that Chrissy and Rodney talked about was a possible like original clone, or like the base where they got the clone from. So they said that in Norfolk they seen someone that looked like her, and what's so important to them is that because with these possibles, um, the people from Hailsham have a look into what kind of life they could have had.
Kathy reveals to Ruth that she has feelings for Tommy. Ruth replies that Tommy would never want her. Is Ruth keeping Tommy from Kathy? What kind of scandalous stuff is going on here?
I definitely think that Ruth was keeping Tommy from Kathy. Um, Kathy always seemed to make herself more than what she is. I definitely think there's a lack of confidence in their relationship, and she knows that Kathy and Tommy have been lifelong friends, so she's a little concerned about how they're gonna feel about each other.
Scandalous. Chrissy and Rodney mention a rumor that donations can be deferred for some time if a couple can prove they are truly in love. Why does Kathy pretend to know about the deferrals?
Kathy pretends to know well because she, as mentioned earlier, she likes to try to assert herself as above other people. Um, essentially she she just wants to seem like she can get in with the cool kids, because Chrissy and Rodney are um, veteran people who are not from Hailsham, but they are living in the cottages, which is like the transitional housing
Mm.
after their clone lives. And Kathy just wants to um, be popular outside of school.
So the third part of the book is about Kathy's time spent like doing her job, like as a career. Kathy claims that she's a good at her career, or she's good at her job as a carer. Why does she take on the role to be Ruth's carer after their tense relationship?
I think she wanted to be Ruth's carer because even though they had a pretty rough and up and down relationship, I think there's probably no one better for that job because they understand each other so well. Aside from their feuding, they also confided a lot in each other and they built a very healthy relationship with sharing their feelings and um, just how close they are. So I think Kathy is right to take on that role.
Kathy and Tommy go to see Miss Emily to request deferrals since they got together. What do they find out from Miss Emily?
So when Kathy and Tommy go see Miss Emily, they find out that there was the rumor of. Sorry, let me backtrack. So there was rumors that if a couple could prove that they were in love, then their deferrals to have donations would be delayed. So this is why Kathy and Tommy go to see Miss Emily to request a deferral. And so what they found out from Miss Emily was that the deferral rumors were in fact untrue, and so there was no extension from donations, which is once again when they go and donate organs and tissues for future clones.
So Tommy completes after his fourth donation, leaving Kathy without a patient. What does she do after that?
Um, well, so Tommy dies. That's what completion is, and he made it through four donations. So he went through four sessions where they harvest organs and tissues. So Kathy, well, she essentially goes out of her way for a brief moment, and does things to recover. I guess she goes for a drive and she goes to some open fields where she reminisces about um, her and Tommy. But essentially, in the end, her fate is to continue as a carer and eventually become someone who donates.
Wow. This sounds like a pretty complex read. Miss Emily makes it known that art students created were to prove that they had souls. Why is proving their humanity important?
So she really wanted to prove their humanity because there's a lot of people who are probably against the cloning process, and so the art really showed that they could think and that they had minds of their own and they weren't being controlled entirely, even though they grew up in a pretty sheltered and controlled environment. Their art was their media for expressing themselves in a way. Um, and she wanted to show people that so she could gain their support. Eventually, the public opinion did change after a while because Hailsham did become shut down in the end.
Sounds like a pretty complex read, pretty interesting read. Um, what other like literary works can you tie this book to?
I definitely think I can tie this to the book called The Giver,
Hmm.
because the
Heard of
people,
that one?
yeah, the people who grew up in that one, they were taught to only feel certain emotions. They cannot express certain emotions. Certain words are forbidden to be said, and memories of all conflict, all feelings, and basically everything that the new society controls. One person is in charge of that to hold on, kind of like a curator. Other than that, the youth and people in that society are heavily controlled to think a certain thing, and and yeah, there's just such a controlled environment compared to like this place where they are controlled to grow up and just take the role of donators.
Wow. Well, thank you, Xavier. It
Yes, thanks for
was it
having me.
was great to have you on the NLMG show.
Yes, thank you.
Um, Tune in next week. We won't have any interviews. Bye.